The harsh wind whipped across the Montana plains as Levi Norton spotted the stagecoach in the distance, its wooden wheels kicking up dust that spiraled into the crisp autumn air of 1876. He hadn't expected visitors to his remote ranch, especially not with winter approaching fast. Squinting against the glare of the late afternoon sun, he adjusted his worn Stetson and leaned against the weathered fence post, rifle casually propped beside him, a necessary companion in these untamed territories. The stagecoach drew closer, the team of 4 horses slowing as they approached his property. Levi straightened, curiosity and caution mingling as the vehicle came to a halt. The door swung open and a woman stepped out, her emerald green traveling dress dusty from the long journey. Her auburn hair was partially coming loose from what had likely been an elegant arrangement that morning, and her face showed the weariness of days on the road. But what caught Levi's attention was the small girl clinging to the woman's skirt, no more than 5 years old, with golden curls and eyes that reminded him of the Montana sky, a blue so clear it almost hurt to look at them. "Mr. Norton," the woman called, her voice carrying across the yard. Levi approached slowly, his spurs jingling with each step. "That would be me, madam. Don't recall expecting company." The woman straightened her shoulders. "Katherine Rosemont, I believe you received a letter from my late cousin, Eleanor Norton." The name hit Levi like a physical blow. Eleanor. His wife, gone 3 years now from the fever that had swept through these parts. "I did," he said, his voice rougher than he intended. The letter had arrived just 2 weeks prior, informing him that Eleanor's cousin was widowed and seeking a new start, asking if he might offer any assistance. Katherine nodded toward the child, half hiding behind her skirts. "This is Anna, your daughter." Levi froze, staring at the child who peeked up at him with those familiar blue eyes, Eleanor's eyes. "I don't understand," he managed. "Eleanor was with child when she left to visit her family in Boston," Katherine explained. "She never told you in her letters because she wanted to surprise you when she returned. When she fell ill," Katherine's voice faltered, "she made me promise to bring Anna to you when the time was right." The little girl clung tighter to Katherine's skirt, watching him with a mixture of fear and curiosity. Levi knelt down slowly, his heart pounding against his ribs. "Hello, Anna," he said, his voice gentler than it had been in years. Anna whispered something to Katherine, who smiled sadly. "She's shy around strangers. She's been through a lot." Levi stood, emotions warring within him, shock, grief renewed, and a spark of something he hadn't felt in years: hope. He looked at the little girl clinging to Katherine's skirt, then at the beautiful, tired woman who had traveled across the country to fulfill a promise. "Guess you're family now," he said simply, his voice thick with emotion. "Both of you," Katherine's eyes widened. "Mr. Norton, I only meant to bring Anna to you. A child needs a mother," Levi interrupted, thinking quickly. "And winter's coming. Roads will be impassable soon. You'll stay, at least until spring." He looked at the little girl again, his daughter, and something inside his hardened heart cracked open. "Please." Katherine studied him for a long moment before nodding. "Until spring, then." Levi helped the stagecoach driver unload Katherine's trunks, paying the man extra for the trouble of the remote delivery. As the coach pulled away, leaving them in a cloud of dust, Levi realized his life had just changed irrevocably. "The house isn't much," he warned as he carried 2 trunks toward the cabin, "but it's sturdy against the winter." Katherine took Anna's hand, following him. "We've had worse, Mr. Norton." "Levi," he corrected. "If we're to be family, even temporarily, you might as well use my given name." "Levi," she repeated, the name soft on her lips. Inside, the cabin was larger than it appeared from the outside. A main room with a stone fireplace served as both kitchen and living area, with 2 doors leading to small bedrooms. "You and Anna can take the main bedroom," Levi said, setting down the trunks. "I'll move my things to the smaller room." Katherine looked around, taking in the simple but well-maintained home. "You've kept it nice," she observed. "Eleanor would have wanted that," he said quietly. At the mention of her mother's name, Anna finally spoke. "Mama's in heaven," she said solemnly. Levi knelt down to her level. "Yes, she is, but she loved you very much." Aunt Katherine said, "You're my papa." Levi nodded, throat tight. That's right. Anna studied him with those solemn blue eyes, then asked, "Do you have horses?" Levi couldn't help the small smile that tugged at his lips. "I do. Would you like to see them tomorrow?" Anna nodded enthusiastically, the first hint of childish excitement breaking through her reserve. "It's getting late," Katherine said. "We should get settled before dark." As Katherine helped Anna wash up and prepare for bed, Levi sat at the rough-hewn table trying to process the day's events. He had a daughter, Eleanor's child, a piece of her he never knew existed. And now there was this woman, Katherine, with her direct gaze and quiet strength, upending his solitary existence. Later, after Anna had fallen asleep, Katherine joined Levi by the fire. "Thank you," she said simply, "for welcoming us." "She's my blood," Levi replied, "and you brought her to me." "I should explain," Katherine said, her fingers nervously twisting in her lap. "Eleanor and I grew up together. When she married you and moved west, it broke my heart to lose her. Then she came to visit, carrying your child, so excited to return and surprise you. Why didn't she write to me?" Levi asked, the old pain resurfacing. "When she fell ill, it happened so quickly," Katherine explained, "and she didn't want to worry you when you were so far away by the time we realized how serious it was." She trailed off, tears gathering in her eyes. Her last wish was for Anna to know her father when she was old enough to travel. "And you?" Levi asked. "You mentioned being widowed." Katherine nodded. "My husband died in a factory accident last year. I taught school to support myself, but..." She hesitated. "Boston holds too many painful memories now." They sat in silence for a while, watching the fire. "We have a small school in town," Levi said eventually. "Teacher left last spring, married a rancher from Wyoming." Katherine looked up, surprised. "Are you offering me a position?" "Just mentioning it," Levi said. "Might be something to consider come spring." "That's months away," Katherine pointed out. Levi nodded. "Plenty of time for you to decide if Montana's for you." He stood, suddenly aware of how intimate the conversation had become. "I'll head out early tomorrow to check the herd. My ranch hand, Miguel, will be around if you need anything." Katherine stood as well. "Good night, Levi, and thank you again." As Levi lay in the small bedroom that night, listening to the wind howling outside, he thought about the strange twist his life had taken. A daughter he never knew he had. A beautiful woman who had sacrificed her own comfort to fulfill a promise. And for the first time in 3 years, the crushing loneliness that had been his constant companion seemed to lift, just a little. The next morning dawned clear and cold, with frost glittering on the grass. Levi had already been up for hours, tending to the most urgent ranch chores, when he returned to the cabin for breakfast. He paused outside, hearing the unfamiliar sound of laughter, Anna's childish giggle and Katherine's warmer tones. He entered to find Katherine at the stove, her hair pulled back in a simple braid, wearing one of his old shirts over her dress as an apron. Anna sat at the table, playing with a small wooden horse he'd carved years ago. "Found that, did you?" he asked the little girl. Anna nodded, holding the toy carefully. "It's pretty. Made that for a neighbor's boy once," Levi explained, hanging his hat on a peg by the door. "Never got around to giving it to him." "We hope you don't mind breakfast," Katherine said. "We were hungry and I didn't want to wake you before you were ready." "I've been up since before dawn," Levi said, washing his hands in the basin, "and I don't mind at all." Katherine served up plates of eggs and bacon, with biscuits that were better than anything Levi had managed in years. They ate in a surprisingly comfortable silence, broken only by Anna's occasional questions about the ranch and the animals. "I promised to look at the horses," Levi said when they'd finished, "if you're up for it." Anna nodded eagerly and Katherine smiled. "Let me clean up here first." "I can show you the rest of the place after," Levi offered. "It's not much, but it's home." The small family made their way to the stables, where Levi's 4 horses nickered in greeting. Anna's eyes widened at the sight of them. "They're so big," she whispered. "This is Thunder," Levi said, leading her to a gentle chestnut mare. "She's the friendliest." He lifted Anna carefully, letting her stroke the horse's nose. The little girl's delighted laugh warmed something inside him that had been cold for too long. Katherine watched them, a soft smile on her face. She's never seen horses up close before. In Boston, they were always pulling carriages, never standing still enough to pet. Every child should know horses, Levi said, especially out here. After showing Anna the rest of the animals, including the milk cow and chickens, Levi took them on a tour of the small ranch. It wasn't grand, 100 acres of decent grazing land, a sturdy barn, the main cabin, and a smaller bunkhouse where Miguel stayed. "It's beautiful," Katherine said, looking out over the rolling grassland to the mountains in the distance. "Wilder than I imagined, but beautiful." "Eleanor loved it here," Levi said quietly. "Took to it like she was born to it, though she came from city life too." "She always did adapt quickly," Katherine replied. "I was always the cautious one." "And now you've traveled clear across the country with a child," Levi observed. "Doesn't seem so cautious to me," Katherine smiled. "Perhaps Eleanor's spirit rubbed off on me in the end." As the days passed, they settled into a routine. Levi would rise early to work with Miguel on the ranch, while Katherine kept the house and cared for Anna. In the evenings, they would gather by the fire, sometimes talking, sometimes just enjoying the quiet company. Anna warmed to Levi quickly, her natural childish curiosity overcoming her initial shyness. She followed him around whenever he was in the cabin, asking endless questions about the ranch, the animals, and the wild country around them. "She has your stubbornness," Katherine observed one evening after putting Anna to bed. "Once she gets an idea in her head, there's no shifting it," Levi chuckled. "Got that from her mother too. Eleanor was the most determined woman I ever met, except perhaps you." Katherine raised an eyebrow. "Me?" "Traveling all this way, starting over, takes determination. Or desperation," Katherine said quietly. Levi studied her in the firelight. "Want to talk about it?" Katherine sighed, staring into the flames. "My husband James wasn't a kind man, not like I thought when we married." The factory accident was almost a relief. She looked up, meeting Levi's gaze. "That's a terrible thing to say." "Not if it's true," Levi said simply. "I stayed for appearance's sake. In Boston, that matters more than happiness." Katherine's fingers twisted in her lap. "When he died, I thought I could breathe again, but then the debts started appearing. Gambling debts, he'd lost everything and creditors were circling." "That why you decided to bring Anna west?" Katherine nodded. "The timing seemed right. Anna was old enough to travel and I needed to escape." Levi reached across the table, hesitating before covering her hand with his. "You're safe here." Katherine looked at their hands, then up at his face. "For now," she reminded him, "until spring." Levi withdrew his hand, suddenly aware of the impropriety. "Yes, until spring." The first snowfall came in early November, blanketing the ranch in white. Anna woke Levi at dawn, her excited voice carrying through the cabin as she discovered the transformed landscape. "Papa, Papa, everything's white." Levi emerged from his room to find Anna pressed against the window, her breath fogging the glass. Katherine stood behind her, hair loose around her shoulders, a shawl wrapped around her nightgown. "Sorry," she apologized. "I couldn't contain her excitement." "No need for sorry," Levi said, smiling at his daughter's wonder. "First snow is something special." After breakfast, Levi helped Anna bundle up in warm clothes, some borrowed from Miguel's sister's children who lived in town. Katherine watched from the doorway as Levi taught Anna how to make snowballs, her laughter ringing out across the white landscape. "Join us," Levi called to Katherine. She hesitated, then stepped out into the snow, gasping at the cold. Anna immediately threw a small, poorly formed snowball that disintegrated before it reached her. Katherine retaliated with one of her own, and soon all three were engaged in a playful battle that left them breathless and laughing. As they stood catching their breath, Levi was struck by how right this felt, like the family he'd dreamed of having with Eleanor, now materializing in this unexpected way. Katherine caught him staring and tilted her head questioningly. "Just thinking," he said, "how good it is to hear laughter here again." That night, after Anna was asleep, Katherine sat mending one of Levi's shirts by the fire. Levi watched her nimble fingers work the needle. "Never thought I'd have a family again," he said abruptly. Katherine looked up, her needle pausing. "She's a wonderful child, you should be proud." "I am," Levi agreed. "Though I can't take credit, you raised her." I just did what Eleanor would have wanted, Katherine said, returning to her sewing. She talked about you constantly, even after. When she knew she wouldn't make it back, she wanted Anna to know what a good man her father was. Levi's throat tightened. I wasn't always good to Eleanor. Working the ranch, I was often busy, distracted. She understood, Katherine assured him. She was proud of what you were building here. They lapsed into comfortable silence, the only sounds the crackling fire and the wind outside. Snow continued to fall, isolating them further from the outside world, creating a pocket of time that seemed separate from reality. As November turned to December, the snow deepened and the temperatures dropped further. The ranch became a world unto itself, with occasional trips to town for supplies their only contact with others. Miguel had departed for the winter to stay with his family in town, leaving Levi to handle the reduced winter workload alone. Katherine took over the teaching of Anna's letters and numbers, setting up a small school area in the corner of the main room. Levi would often pause in his work to watch them, Katherine's patient instruction and Anna's determined concentration filling him with quiet pride. One evening, as Christmas approached, Levi returned from checking the livestock to find Katherine and Anna baking cookies, the cabin filled with the warm scent of ginger and cinnamon. "Where did you get the spices?" he asked, hanging up his coat. "I brought some with me," Katherine explained. "I was saving them for Christmas." Anna held up a misshapen cookie proudly. "I made this one for you, Papa." Levi accepted it carefully, as if it were made of gold rather than flour and butter. "Best cookie I've ever seen," he declared, making Anna beam with pride. That night, after Anna was asleep, Katherine explained her Christmas plans. "I know it's not much, but I thought we could make it special for her, her first Christmas with her father." "Haven't celebrated properly since Eleanor," Levi admitted, "but I'd like to for Anna." "And for yourself," Katherine said gently. "It's time, don't you think?" Levi nodded slowly. "Been alone with my grief too long." "Grief doesn't end," Katherine said, speaking from experience, "but it changes, makes room for life again eventually." Levi looked at her across the table, seeing the understanding in her eyes. "You've lost much too. Different kinds of loss," she acknowledged. "But yes." On Christmas Eve, Levi surprised them by bringing in a small pine tree he'd cut from the edge of his property. Anna squealed with delight as he set it up in the corner of the room. "We don't have proper ornaments," he apologized. "We'll make them," Katherine declared, already gathering scraps of fabric and paper. They spent the evening crafting simple decorations, paper stars, fabric bows, and strings of dried berries Katherine had preserved. Anna directed the placement of each item with serious concentration, while Levi and Katherine followed her instructions, exchanging amused glances over her head. When Anna finally went to bed, vibrating with excitement for the morning, Levi and Katherine sat by the fire with cups of coffee laced with a splash of whiskey from Levi's small reserve. "Thank you," Levi said quietly, "for bringing Christmas back to this house." "Thank you for welcoming us," Katherine replied. It's more than I hoped for when we set out." Levi hesitated, then reached into his pocket. "Got something for you, nothing fancy." He handed her a small wooden carving, a delicate rose, intricately detailed despite the simplicity of the medium. Katherine took it carefully, running her fingers over the smooth petals. "It's beautiful. When did you have time?" "Evenings, after you both were asleep," Levi admitted. "Needed something to keep my hands busy." "I have something for you too," Katherine said, retrieving a package from beside her chair. "It's not much." Levi unwrapped the cloth to find a knitted scarf made from wool yarn in deep blue. "This is fine work," he said, feeling the softness between his fingers. "The blue matches your eyes," Katherine said, then blushed. I know what you mean," Levi said softly. "Thank you." Their eyes met across the small space between them, and something shifted in the air, an acknowledgement of feelings that had been growing since that first day, buried beneath propriety and circumstance. Levi cleared his throat. "Should turn in. Anna will have us up at dawn." Katherine nodded, gathering her empty cup. "Good night, Levi." "Good night, Katherine." As predicted, Anna woke them at first light, bouncing with excitement. The small family gathered around the tree where Levi had placed a few modest gifts while Katherine and Anna slept. For Anna, there was a wooden doll Levi had carved, dressed in scraps of fabric Katherine had sewn together. The little girl clutched it to her chest, declaring it the most beautiful doll ever made. There were also new mittens Katherine had knitted and a picture book Levi had purchased on his last trip to town. Katherine was surprised to find a second gift for herself, a journal bound in soft leather. "For your thoughts," Levi explained. "Figured you might have many in this new place." "It's perfect," she said, touching the cover reverently. The day passed in lazy contentment, with a special dinner of roast chicken and preserved vegetables from Levi's root cellar. As they sat around the table, Levi looked at the two faces illuminated by candlelight, his daughter and the woman who had brought her to him, and felt a sense of peace he hadn't known in years. As winter deepened, so did the connection between them. The forced proximity of the season, trapped together in the cabin during blizzards, created an intimacy that might have taken months to develop otherwise. They learned each other's habits, preferences, and moods. They shared stories of their pasts, Levi of his journey west as a young man, Katherine of her childhood with Eleanor. January brought the coldest days, with temperatures so low that Levi refused to leave the cabin except to tend to the animals. The three of them spent days playing games, reading, and telling stories by the fire. Anna thrived under the attention of both adults, her personality blossoming as she felt secure in their care. One particularly bitter night, with the wind howling like a wounded animal outside, Anna had a nightmare that sent her scrambling into Katherine's bed, trembling and tearful. "The bad men were coming," she whimpered as Katherine held her. "What bad men, sweetheart?" Katherine asked, stroking the child's hair. "The ones that made us leave Boston," Anna said, her voice small. Katherine froze, looking up to find Levi standing in the doorway, concern etched on his face. She hadn't realized Anna had been aware of the threats from the creditors, the men who had come to their Boston home demanding payment, growing increasingly menacing with each visit. "No bad men can find us here," Levi said firmly, coming to sit on the edge of the bed. "This is our home and I protect what's mine." Anna looked up at him, her tears subsiding. "Promise, promise," Levi said, resting his hand gently on her head. "Nothing bad will happen to you or Katherine while I'm around." His eyes met Katherine's over Anna's head, and she saw the question there: why hadn't she told him the full extent of her troubles in Boston? Later, after Anna had fallen back asleep, Levi and Katherine sat at the kitchen table, mugs of tea warming their hands. "How bad was it?" Levi asked directly. Katherine sighed, staring into her cup. "Worse than I let on. James owed money to some dangerous men. They threatened us, said they'd take Anna if I couldn't pay." Levi's hand tightened around his mug. "That why you left so sudden? We left in the night," Katherine admitted. "Left almost everything behind. I sold what I could for train tickets. I was terrified they'd follow us." "They know you came here," Katherine shook her head. "I don't think so. I told no one our destination, except the lawyer who handled Eleanor's affairs. And even then, I waited until we were leaving." Levi reached across the table, taking her hand firmly in his. "You should have told me." "I didn't want to burden you further," Katherine said. "You just learned about Anna." "Protecting my family is never a burden," Levi said, his voice low and intense. "And like I told Anna, you're safe here." Katherine looked at their joined hands, then up at his face. "We're not truly your family, Levi." "Come spring, maybe I don't want you to leave in spring," Levi interrupted, then looked surprised at his own words. Katherine's breath caught. "What are you saying?" Levi withdrew his hand, running it through his hair in a gesture of frustration. "I don't know. It's not proper to speak of such things. You're still in my care, under my roof." "I'm not some helpless woman who needs rescuing," Katherine said, a flash of pride in her voice. "Never thought you were," Levi replied, "but these feelings—" He shook his head. "It's too soon for both of us." Katherine nodded slowly. "Perhaps it is." But as January turned to February, the unspoken feelings between them continued to grow. They found excuses to touch hands brushing while passing dishes, shoulders pressing together as they sat reading by the fire. They stole glances when the other wasn't looking, quickly averting their eyes when caught. Anna, with a child's intuition, seemed to sense the change. She began asking questions that made both adults blush. "You like Papa, Aunt Catherine?" she asked one afternoon as they baked bread together. Catherine focused on kneading the dough. "Of course I do, he's a good man." "But do you like him like in the stories?" Anna pressed. "Like the princess likes the prince." Catherine glanced toward the door, relieved that Levi was out checking the livestock. "That's a complicated question, sweetheart. Papa smiles when you're not looking," Anna informed her solemnly. "He didn't smile before we came." Catherine didn't know how to respond to that, so she changed the subject, asking Anna to fetch more flour. But the child's words stayed with her, warming her heart despite the winter chill. February brought a brief thaw, allowing Levi to make a much-needed trip to town for supplies. He returned with not only the necessities, but also a letter for Catherine forwarded from Boston through the lawyer who had handled Eleanor's affairs. Catherine read it with growing alarm, her face paling as she absorbed the contents. "Bad news?" Levi asked, hanging up his coat. "They found out where we went," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "James's creditors, someone at the law office must have told them." She looked up at Levi, fear evident in her eyes. "They're coming west, looking for payment." Levi took the letter, reading it quickly. It was from a former neighbor, warning Catherine that men had been asking questions about her whereabouts, making it clear they intended to collect what they were owed, one way or another. "How would they know to look in Montana?" Levi asked, frowning. "The letter mentions they know I brought Eleanor's child to her father," Catherine explained. "They must have traced Eleanor's marriage records." Levi's jaw tightened. "When?" "The letter's dated 6 weeks ago," Catherine said, "if they left shortly after." "They could be here by spring," Levi finished. Catherine stood abruptly. "We should leave. Anna and we've brought trouble to your door." "No," Levi said firmly. "Running won't solve this, and I won't have my daughter end." He hesitated. "And you, out there alone with these men searching for you." "What can we do?" Catherine asked, sinking back into her chair. Levi's expression hardened. "First, we prepare, then we face them." Over the next weeks, as winter began to loosen its grip on the land, Levi made preparations. He rode to neighboring ranches, informing trusted friends of the situation. He increased his trips to town, making sure the sheriff was aware of potential trouble coming. Catherine noticed the rifle was always within reach now, and Levi spent more time teaching her how to use it. "Just in case," he said, though they both prayed it wouldn't come to that. Despite the shadow hanging over them, or perhaps because of it, the unspoken feelings between them intensified. Life felt more precious, more urgent, with the threat looming on the horizon. One evening in early March, with the first hints of spring in the air, Levi found Catherine standing on the porch, staring at the sunset painting the mountains in shades of gold and crimson. "Beautiful, isn't it?" he said, joining her. "I've grown to love it here," she admitted. "The space, the freedom, even the harshness has its own beauty." "It gets in your blood," Levi agreed. "Can't imagine being anywhere else now." Catherine turned to face him. "I need to ask you something, Levi. Anything." "When you said you didn't want us to leave in spring, did you mean it?" Levi's breath clouded in the cool air as he considered his words carefully. "I meant it, but not out of obligation or protection." "Then why?" Catherine pressed. "Because this cabin feels like a home again with you and Anna in it," Levi said quietly. "Because I wake up looking forward to each day instead of just enduring it. Because—" he took a deep breath. "Because I've come to care for you, Catherine, more than I thought possible." Catherine's eyes glistened in the fading light. "I care for you too, Levi. I tried not to. It felt disloyal to Eleanor somehow." "Eleanor would want us both to be happy," Levi said, taking a step closer. "She would want Anna to have a family. Is that all this is, for Anna's sake?" Catherine asked, vulnerability in her voice. Levi shook his head. "No, she's part of it, but—" He reached out, tentatively touching Catherine's cheek. "I think I'm falling in love with you, Katherine Rosemont, and it scares me half to death." Catherine leaned into his touch. "I'm scared too. Of these feelings, of what's coming, of losing this place that's become home." Levi's hand slid to the back of her neck, drawing her closer. "We'll face it together, whatever comes." Their lips met in a gentle kiss, tentative at first, then with growing certainty. When they pulled apart, they stood with foreheads touching, breath mingling in the cold air. "What happens now?" Katherine whispered. "Now," Levi said, "we live each day as it comes, and when those men show up, they'll find we're not so easily intimidated." Spring arrived in earnest, the snow receding to reveal tender green shoots pushing through the softening earth. The ranch came alive with new activity, calves being born, fields needing preparation, fences requiring repair after winter's damage. Katherine and Anna joined in the work, with Anna delighting in the new calves, and Katherine proving herself capable with the vegetable garden and smaller livestock. They functioned increasingly as a family unit, with the kiss on the porch having broken down the last barriers between Levi and Katherine. They were careful to maintain propriety around Anna, but the little girl wasn't fooled. "Are you going to marry Papa?" she asked Katherine one afternoon as they gathered eggs from the henhouse. Katherine nearly dropped the basket. "What makes you ask that, sweetheart?" "Because you love him," Anna said matter-of-factly, "and he loves you. That's what people do when they love each other." "It's more complicated than that," Katherine began. "Why?" Anna persisted. "Don't you want to be my real mama?" Katherine knelt down, looking into eyes so like Eleanor's. "Anna, I would be honored to be your mother. I already love you as if you were my own." "Then what's complicated?" Anna asked, the simple logic of childhood cutting through adult hesitations. Katherine smiled, tucking a stray curl behind Anna's ear. "You're right. Perhaps it's not so complicated after all." That evening, Katherine shared the conversation with Levi as they sat on the porch, watching the sunset. He chuckled at Anna's directness. "Smart girl," he commented, "sees right to the heart of things." "She does," Katherine agreed, then hesitated. "Levi, what are we doing? Really?" Levi took her hand. "Building a life, I hope, if that's what you want." "What about the men from Boston?" "We'll handle them," Levi said with quiet confidence. "I won't let fear of what might happen stop us from living." Katherine squeezed his hand. "When I brought Anna here, I never imagined that you'd find a home," Levi finished. "That makes two of us." The threat from Boston materialized in late April, when three men rode onto the property one afternoon while Levi was mending fences in the north pasture. Katherine spotted them from the garden, her heart freezing when she recognized one as a man who had come to her Boston home, demanding payment with thinly veiled threats. "Anna," she called, keeping her voice steady despite her fear, "go inside and stay there. Don't come out until I say so." Anna, sensing the urgency, obeyed without question. Katherine wiped her hands on her apron and stood tall as the men approached. "Mrs. Rosemont," the leader called, a thin man with cold eyes and an Eastern accent. "Thought you could run from your husband's debts." "My husband's dead," Katherine replied, her voice stronger than she felt, "and I owe you nothing." The man dismounted, the other two following suit. "That's not how it works, madam. Debts passed to the widow. James owed us a considerable sum." "I have no money," Katherine said simply. "Everything was sold to pay other creditors." The man's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Then perhaps we'll have to find other ways for you to repay us." His gaze flickered to the cabin, and Katherine felt cold fear slide down her spine. Anna was inside. "This is private property," she said, stepping backward toward the house and the rifle just inside the door. "I suggest you leave." "Not until we get what we came for," the man said, advancing on her. A rifle shot cracked through the air, the bullet kicking up dirt at the man's feet, stopping him in his tracks. All eyes turned to see Levi approaching on horseback, rifle raised and ready for another shot. "The lady asked you to leave," he called, his voice deadly calm. The men tensed, hands moving toward their weapons. Levi's next shot knocked the hat clean off one man's head. "That's your last warning," Levi said, dismounting but keeping the rifle trained on them. "Next one won't miss." The leader assessed the situation, clearly not having expected armed resistance. "This doesn't concern you, mister. This woman's husband owed us money." "That woman is under my protection," Levi said, moving to stand beside Katherine, "and I don't recognize any debt." "The law," the man began. "Law's on my side," Levi interrupted. "Sheriff's a friend, so are the neighbors. One more shot and they'll come running." He nodded toward the ridge where two of his rancher friends had appeared, also armed. Levi had arranged this response at the first sign of trouble. The men glanced nervously at the newcomers, clearly reassessing their position. Now, Levi continued, you have two choices. Leave now and never return, or face the consequences of threatening my family on my land. The leader hesitated, then slowly backed toward his horse. This isn't over, he warned. Yes, it is, Levi countered, because if you come back, I won't aim for the ground. The men mounted their horses, the leader scowling at Katherine. Not worth dying over a debt, he muttered, though his pride was clearly wounded. They rode off, and Katherine sagged with relief, leaning against Levi. How did you know? Saw them from the ridge, he explained. Recognized trouble when I saw it. He looked down at her, concern etched on his face. You all right? Katherine nodded. Anna's inside, she's safe. The neighboring ranchers rode down to join them, and Levi thanked them for their timely appearance. After ensuring the men were truly gone, the neighbors departed with promises to keep watch for any return. Inside, they found Anna hiding under her bed, trembling but brave. Were those the bad men? She asked as Katherine pulled her into a tight embrace. Yes, but they're gone now, Katherine assured her. Your papa made sure of it. Anna looked up at Levi with adoration. You saved us. We saved each other, Levi corrected, kneeling beside them. That's what families do. That night, after Anna was asleep, Katherine and Levi sat at the kitchen table, hands clasped between them. You think they're gone for good? Katherine asked. Men like that weigh the risk against the reward, Levi said. They've seen we're not easy targets. And they know the community's watching. I've brought nothing but trouble, Katherine said, guilt evident in her voice. You've brought life back to this place, Levi corrected. Joy, purpose. He hesitated, then reached into his pocket. I've been carrying this around for weeks, waiting for the right moment. He placed a simple gold band on the table between them. Belonged to my mother, I want you to have it if you'll accept it. Katherine stared at the ring, her heart pounding. Levi, I know it's fast, he said quickly. Known each other less than a year, but life out here doesn't always give the luxury of time, and I know what I feel. He took a deep breath. I love you, Katherine, want to build a life with you and Anna, a proper family. Tears welled in Katherine's eyes. What about Eleanor? Eleanor brought us together, Levi said softly. She entrusted her daughter to you, and you brought that daughter to me. In her own way, I think she blessed this. Katherine touched the ring gently. I love you too, Levi. I wasn't looking for this, but here we are, Levi finished. So what do you say? Will you marry me, Katherine Rosemont? Make this arrangement permanent. Katherine picked up the ring, sliding it onto her finger where it fit as if made for her. Yes, she whispered. Yes, I will. They were married 2 weeks later in the small church in town, with Anna as their only attendant, proudly carrying a bouquet of wildflowers. The entire community turned out for the celebration, welcoming Katherine officially into their midst. Told you they would get married, Anna informed Miguel's sister triumphantly during the celebration afterward. The newlyweds settled into their life together, the threat from Boston fading as spring turned to summer. The ranch prospered under their joint care, with Katherine's Eastern education complementing Levi's practical knowledge. Word reached them in late summer that the men who had threatened them had run afoul of the law in Denver, ending up in prison for other crimes. The news lifted the last shadow from their happiness. One evening in early fall, almost a year after Katherine and Anna had first arrived at the ranch, the family sat on the porch watching the sunset. Anna was playing with a new doll Levi had carved for her while Katherine leaned against her husband's shoulder. Happy? Levi asked, his arm around her waist. More than I ever thought possible, Katherine replied. She hesitated, then took his hand and placed it on her stomach. And it's going to get even better. Levi's eyes widened as he understood her meaning. Really? Katherine nodded, a radiant smile spreading across her face. Really, in spring? Levi let out a joyful laugh, pulling her closer for a kiss. The sound drew Anna's attention, and she came to investigate. What's so funny, Papa? Levi exchanged a glance with Katherine, who nodded. He lifted Anna onto his lap. How would you like to be a big sister, sweetheart? Anna's eyes grew round. A real sister or brother? That's right, Katherine confirmed. There's going to be a new baby in our family. Anna clapped her hands in delight, already planning all the things she would teach her new sibling. As she chattered excitedly, Levi and Katherine shared a look of pure contentment. "When I saw you both that day, Anna clinging to your skirt," Levi said quietly, "I never imagined where it would lead." "When I said we were family now," Katherine reminded him, "you meant it more truly than I knew." "Family," Levi repeated, looking at his wife and daughter with overwhelming love. The best word in the language. As twilight deepened around them, painting the Montana sky in purples and deep blues, the little family remained on the porch, planning their future together, a future that had seemed impossible just 1 year before, when a stagecoach had arrived carrying unexpected visitors who would change everything. The Norton Ranch would continue to grow and thrive in the years to come. The following spring brought a healthy baby boy they named William, after Levi's father. 2 years later, twin girls joined the family, completing their circle of love. Anna grew into a beautiful young woman with her mother Eleanor's blue eyes and her adoptive mother Katherine's quiet strength. She never forgot the journey that had brought her to her father's ranch, or the love that had blossomed there between two people who had found each other through loss and hope. And every year, on the anniversary of that first meeting, Levi would remind them all how it began with a little girl clinging to a woman's skirt and the simple words that had changed their lives forever. "Guess your family now." In the vast expanse of the Montana Territory, their story became one of many tales of love and perseverance that defined the American West, not just the stories of gunslingers and outlaws, but the quieter, deeper stories of families forging lives from the wilderness, finding love in unexpected places, and creating homes that would stand for generations to come.